Perfect.
Oh. And we're live.
Oh.
Hey, Dirty. Welcome to Joe Braymeyer Presents.
I guess we're going live, Brad Bark.
All right.
Yeah. When was the last time you were in Wilton, by the way?
You know, I was here about 2 or 3 weeks ago speaking with the city administrator
Better
and the
to
mayor.
be dead and cool than live and uncool.
All right, welcome to Joe Braymeyer Presents, powered by your friends at Treadmill Heroes. Brad Bark, Mayor Muscatine. How are you, Brad?
I'm doing great. By the way, that was a great intro with all the music. That's pretty cool.
Wasn't that neat?
That was great. Absolutely.
I'd like to say I composed all that myself, but I did not. No.
Pretty impressive.
Today we've got a special guest, Brad Bark, Mayor, Muscatine, dad, husband, collector, chiropractor.
Yep.
Owner of some sweet snakeskin boots.
That's how we do it.
I hope you strangled that rattler all by yourself too before you took him to the boot man.
Absolutely.
The boot man.
Right here in Iowa, you bet.
Oh. Well, we're gonna try something new today.
All right.
Before we even get started with the sit down.
Perfect.
I had this idea while I was mowing last night. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun and interesting to do a podcast over top of some ambient noise?
Let's do it.
So I selected a bunch of ambient noise, and we're gonna see if we can power through this. It's gonna take some mental toughness here.
I hope I don't fall asleep, depending on if there's water or not. So
Well,
we'll find out.
I'm gonna give you the choice. Now you don't get to hear it beforehand, but you'll get to hear it for like a while.
Perfect.
So here's I started a playlist called. Let's go to my downloads here. I started a playlist called Pod Background. And so this is going to be good for us. Brad, while I'm looking that up, walk me back to how we know each other.
Well, I was trying to get buff one day, and I'm like, I need a gym set in my garage or in my basement initially.
Yep.
And then we moved it to the garage, right? So I was able to call you guys, and you were able to help me out with that. And then we moved to a new house, and we had you guys shift everything into our new house. So, I can just go right downstairs and start lifting weights. So yeah.
You started as a customer.
Started as a customer.
Hopefully
Absolutely.
we can end as a buddy
Absolutely.
here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you called Treadmill Heroes. We humped a bunch of... That's right. About blew my back out carrying that Matrix Ascent Trainer thing down in your basement.
Yes, that is correct.
Well, we appreciate the business and thank you for shopping local.
Of course.
All right, Brad, are we going to do this podcast to... we going to do to beach, pool, ambient noise? Are we going to do it to a thunderstorm next to a fire?
Let's do a thunderstorm next to a fire because people might not know this, but I always joke with people. My walk-up song, jokingly, is Thunderstruck.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, we'll see if we can get this going here. Katie can... Oh, I think we got it.
Oh, yeah. I can hear... Nice.
There it is. All right, Katie, you run the volume on that.
Okay.
We're nice and cozy. Isn't this great?
It does feel good, yeah.
All right. I want to start with this thought. Also had this thought while lawn mowing because I was like, how do I talk to the mayor of Muscatine? Because I don't want this to feel like a political rally and like, well, Joe, I'm just here for the people, that kind of. I want to talk to Brad the guy.
You're talking to Brad the guy, you bet.
But I think this ties in. Isn't it interesting how in our own minds, we always think that we are the good guy in the story? I was listening to a podcast about a week ago, and that came up. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of conflict happens, I think.
Correct.
And obviously in politics, that comes into play too. But it's wild because we feel like we are the good guy. And if I'm disagreeing with someone with completely different views, it all stems from them thinking they're the good guy in the story and I'm the bad guy.
Correct.
Can we break that down a little bit?
Absolutely. So when I first was asked to run for mayor, I know we're not getting into the political side of it, but Yeah, it's one of those things that you just gotta. The big thing is, you just gotta listen. You just gotta listen. I know I'm not going to be always right. I understand that, right? Because I typically have to talk to people regarding certain decisions, things like that. But it's just sitting down, listening to them. There's a lot of meetings with my other job as the president of the Chamber of Commerce. It gets crazy. You have to sit down, listen to people, and look at both sides of the story. There's always two sides to any story, right? And work with them. And you have to be vulnerable and just be upfront and honest with them and transparency right away, knowing that I'm not going to be probably the person I'll lead you in the right direction to have someone to actually, find the actual answer itself. But yeah, that's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, but we make mistakes quite a bit, right? That's the whole point.
Well, like you can pick any current topic that's out there, any hot button topic, and we don't even need to name one.
Right.
But what's interesting is one person will look at that as bad, and one person will look at that as good.
Right.
But I almost think it's a good thing that they're passionate about something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like stand for something or fall for anything, the old country song goes, right?
Right. And the thing is, like, you might be a Hawkeye fan, right? I might be a Wisconsin Badger fan, and I'll keep on trying to say my Badgers are great, and you're saying your Hawkeyes are great, right? But at the end of the day, we love football. We can get along, right? And I think it's knowing that we're supposed to, as human beings, we're supposed to love everybody, number one, right? But knowing that we don't have to agree on every single topic, and you could, whatever topic that may be, political, non-political, that we need to hear and look each other and actually have a meaningful conversation, crucial conversation to understand the differences. But at the end of the day, we move on, move forward with life.
If somebody doesn't like you, does that bother you?
I'm a people pleaser. So in chiropractic, I was I want to help people.
Yeah. But by being the mayor, though, people don't like you by default. Some people love you. Some people don't. Nobody has 100% approval rating. So what I mean is, as Brad the person, if you know that, damn, my intentions were really good there, and that person just doesn't like me, does it bother you?
I'd have to say, of course, there's a part of inside my heart, like, yeah, of course, if someone I know does not like me, it's like, well, why? And I want to understand why, but sometimes I don't get that opportunity to hear them out, right? So yeah, I would say it bothers me. You have to have some thick skin though, and just know that what are you doing for the greater good of the community or for the businesses, that type of thing. We're never going to please 100% of everybody. You can give them everything, and some people are like, well, I want more, or whatever that may be. And I'm not talking about from a city standpoint, but it's kind of the saying that my grandpa used to use, Brad, we could give everybody a gold bar and they should be happy, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, of course, I'd be happy with a gold bar, but not everybody's going to be happy with that because they're going to be like, well, Joe doesn't need one. He's got a bunch of gold bars, right?
Yeah.
That type of thing. And that's stuck with me throughout the years. And I was at a young age when he said that. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, gold bar, but it now makes sense to me what he was getting at. Very interesting.
Well, I think it's fun to kind of peel back those layers a little bit.
Yeah.
And I would let me ask you, do you have to be very comfortable with yourself if you're going to throw yourself into the political arena?
Yes.
How so?
It's like one of those, I have to be comfortable with myself, that I have to feel comfortable having conversations with people that may disagree with my views, or that we're making a decision to do a development project over here and not over here. I mean, you have to feel comfortable having those conversations and just know you might not like what you hear, but you have to still hear them out and, not show any kind of body language or that you're not favorable with what they're saying. You have to understand both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel, I've never really talked about my political views on camera. But I will tell you that I don't think it'd be a big shock for people to know that I somewhat lean a little bit conservative. I feel like I've got some liberalism in me a little bit, but I would love to have a staunch liberal person or conservative or Democrat in here. I don't even know what side of the political spectrum you fall on. It doesn't really matter to me, but we can talk about it. But I don't want to have conversations with people anymore where I try to change their mind on views of things.
Bingo.
It's exhausting.
It is
and
exhausting.
Nobody wins, and you can never win an argument.
That's true. That's true. And as a mayor and as the mayor, the mayor in Wilton, any mayor, it's very much non-political. It's just the way it is, right? But yeah, it's just one of those items that you have to take it, and you typically have one side that will help put out your signs, or maybe both people will put out your signs. And for me, when I was putting out my signs, from a mayor standpoint, I had, if we're talking about sides, I had both sides put my signs out, which was pretty cool. That was a good feeling, because again, we're here to represent.
I'm getting rid of the ambient noise.
You're fine. Was that pouring rain at that point?
It was pouring rain at that point. Yeah, I think maybe we're gonna try one more. Hold that thought.
No, you're good.
We're gonna switch to. Here's the one I wanted to do. I was hoping you'd pick, and you picked that one before we even went down that road. This one I think is kind of fun. This is just like the guy down the street. Like, we're out on the porch.
Yeah.
He's out there mowing.
Oh, there you go.
This is more of a spring summery feel here.
I have to say, this reminds me. So when my dad was a superintendent in Durant, 2007 to 2011, I used to actually ride the lawnmower, the school lawnmower, and mow the lawn for the entire school system, and it was the most relaxing thing ever.
How old were you?
I was actually going to school at Palmer College of Chiropractic, so this was about a good month of mowing. It was just fun to do in between classes.
Pre-earbuds.
That's right. Well, actually, I had
maybe some headphones.
You know,
or did you have earbuds
I
back
want to
then?
say I had earbuds, but it had it definitely had the wire and everything.
Got it.
But yeah,
okay, so you still had to plug them in.
I still had to plug them in.
Yeah. My son, who's 9, runs the rider now.
Nice.
And you can just tell he feels like such a free spirit on the riding mower as a kid. Well, and also it's like getting your license for the first time and going out on that drive by yourself alone for the first time in a car.
Yeah.
As a little kid on a riding mower, it's that sense of freedom. And 100%. Wow, I've got a lot of responsibility here, and it's so cute to watch him on the rider.
Yeah, and I have a 9-year-old as well. And even a couple of years ago, he started, sitting on my lap, of course. But the kid's getting so big right now that he could probably do his own riding right now. He's like 8.5 foot or 8.5 inch shoes in 3rd grade. It's crazy.
I had to take a supplement jar, like a plastic container that was about this tall.
Yeah.
And I had to poke holes in the bottom of the container, and I zip tied it and taped it around the gas pedal on the mower so he could reach it. Because even when you slide the seat all the way forward, his legs aren't long enough to.
That's innovative right there.
And then to go in reverse, you know how you got to press down and the thing goes back.
Yep.
We hooked up an old dog leash so he could just pull on the leash to make it go in reverse. It's kind of a janky setup, but it's cute.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go back to some psychology stuff here.
Of course.
Because there again, I find it so interesting to talk to somebody that does not agree with me on things, just to understand the way they compute it and they think about it and why they feel passionate about that. Just explain to me why. I whether I feel like it's right or wrong, it's irrelevant. There's no way I'm going to change your mind. There's no way you're going to change my mind, but just I'll let you unpackage this, but I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
One of my best gal friends growing up, we talked to each other every year on our birthdays. And we were good friends all through high school. We still are great friends today. But in conversation, this last round of birthdays, when we were talking on the phone, it was assumed that I voted one way, and it was assumed that she voted one way, and we couldn't have been any different on that.
Right.
And immediately after 43 years of we haven't known each other 43 years, but I don't know, 35 years, call it, of being close friends. There was this immediate sense of like a second guessing almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could feel it through the phone, and I know she could feel it through the phone. And it was just like, whoa. Just because it's this one thing at this moment in time in our lives, let's not forget about our whole childhood together. Let's not forget about our young adulthood together. Let's not forget that we go out of our way to call each other on our birthdays every year. Right. Love her to death. And we were able to muddle our way through it. And I said, but please do tell. Like, I'm not here to hit you with a yeah, but.
Correct. Yeah.
And as long as you're not here to hit me with a yeah, but, well, then that's fine. Can you unpackage that for me a little bit? And does dumb question, does Brad Bark run into that in his life? So walk me through that and when it really started to maybe get amplified or you started to notice it.
I probably started noticing this. I would say actually my first run around for campaigning to run for mayor of Muscatine. People would start asking me very pointed questions. I'm like, I'm not sure how to even answer that. Number one, there was environmental questions thrown at me.
Social questions, all kinds of the things, yeah.
Things like that. And this is just who I am, but specifically is, I always tell people, number one, biblically, we're supposed to love everybody. You don't have to agree with everybody. I will never push anything on anybody, but God gave us 2 ears. You listen. You listen first, right? And you try to understand where they're coming from. And I think just the listening is very powerful because then you get to understand who that person is pretty quickly, like it or love it, however you want to look at that. But I will always listen first, for sure. Yeah, and then some people are like, "Well, are you Republican? Are you Democratic? What is it?" Right? I'm like, guys,
yeah, pick a side.
Pick a side, right? And I'm like, I'm here for everybody. I'm here for everybody. I represent all 24,000 people in the city of Muscatine. So that's just where I set the line at that point, right? That, hey, this is not supposed to be political at all. I don't really want you to make it political because at the end of the day, a mayor job is not political. We do not run one way or another type of thing.
Is that right? So, yep. I mean, as a mayor, you don't really run on the back of a Republican or a Democrat.
No, there's no primaries for us.
Which that takes a lot of pressure off in a way. Then you can be a little bit more yourself.
Yeah, and I'm always going to be myself for sure. But like I said, I can definitely see. I'm on one side, of course, but I can see across the aisle, and that's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be a community, right? And that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there again, you can almost, if somebody just intensely disagrees with you on a certain thing, you almost have to have a level of respect for that person where 100%. It's like, good for you. You've put thought into this. You've put your heart into this. You believe this to be true, and that being the right thing. What more can you ask for? It's better than being some gray matter walking through life with no opinion or viewpoints on anything and just correct. Like a blob.
Yep. Nope, you're spot on correct. You are definitely correct. We're supposed to be listening. And again, you don't have to agree with everything people say, but you can still do life. I mean, that's just one little segment of, what you could be talking about. There's so many subjects you could talk about, but yeah, we might disagree on one subject, but hey, we agree on 99 other ones right now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the whole thing. And it doesn't matter who you're friends with or who you know, you will never agree with every single thing that person believes in or, if that makes sense.
Well, let me package this together then. and it makes sense, absolutely. In one hand, there again, we all want to love each other for who we are and what we believe. And I think at our core as human beings, I feel like everybody wants that.
Absolutely.
But also, human nature is you want to belong to something and you want to belong to a group. I was talking to some people about church about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to belong, or a gang, or whatever, and anything in between. Same with the political affiliation.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I've chosen my group, my people here that we share like thoughts, and so we can sit together and say things off the cuff, and everybody kind of is in on it, and they agree to a degree.
Yep.
And those two fight each other, wanting to belong, but also wanting to love everybody as their own individual. And that's I suppose the challenge of Brad Bark faces as a mayor, right?
That's correct. And and I take the challenge on. I mean, I don't really look at it as a challenge, but it just gives me another opportunity just to understand someone else's side. Again, just listening to them. I might not agree that, hey, you don't need to have a sidewalk, or you do have to have a sidewalk if it's a sidewalk thing, right? But at the end of the day, what's the greater good for the community, and what does everybody else kind of believe about that specific subject? But if someone does not want anything, then we don't have to do anything for it. I mean, just trying to connect it from a sidewalk perspective. This came up the other day.
In mayor talk.
Yeah, potholes, all that stuff.
Potholes,
Absolutely.
sidewalks.
Which you guys don't have potholes here. I mean,
We just dig up the whole street. As you can see down 5th Street there was a pothole out in front of Casey's, so the city elected, we're just going to tear up the whole street and we'll start fresh.
Sure,
so
right.
do it right.
Yeah, do it right. Yep, absolutely. I was going to say, you guys got a great mayor. I like him a lot.
Well,
Matter of fact, when I was a little kid, this is crazy, but Doc Stanley, he dentist, right?
Yep.
He worked on my teeth when I was a little kid. We're talking back in 1986 through 89, somewhere around there, because we lived in Durant, and then we moved to Wisconsin. Then my parents moved back. But, yeah, he worked on my teeth back in the day.
We might have been ships in the night down and up and down the hallway there at the same time.
Absolutely.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
Okay, so I'm 43. So, yeah, we were kids at the same time.
Don't let the gray hair fool you, by the way.
You did that on purpose. Most people comb in the black. You combed in the gray just to make you look a little bit more seasoned. You were and still are a chiropractor, and you have your own chiropractic practice, correct?
So I don't practice chiropractic anymore. What happened is I had neck surgery, and which chiropractic having neck surgery, right? But playing college football, and when you're young, you do some not smart things, using the crown of your helmet to really hit someone hard. I was a fullback, and that got the best of me. Then I used to see a lot of patients, and I did a lot of chart notes. And the weird thing is, I was lifting a little piece of furniture down the stairs with my wife, and all of a sudden I felt my neck slip a little bit. I'm like, oh no! And my right hand went numb.
That'll get you puckered up in a hurry.
100%. And
did you think you were dying?
No, it was my right hand. So I was, it went numb, no pain, right? And I felt it shift. I'm like, that didn't feel good. And anyways, I went up to Cedar Rapids, and they was like, yep, you need surgery right away. So after that, I decided I'm going to step away, just because my right hand gets weak pretty quickly. If you use it a lot, it could be like hammering or whatever it may be. And so I stepped away from chiropractic and sold my business and sold the building to another chiropractor. But it was
when was that?
2021. So I haven't done chiropractic since. So I stopped chiropractic before I came mayor.
That was a smart move.
Yeah, I think so too. So April was the injury of 2021. June of 2021, I had surgery. And then I'm like, what the heck am I going to do now? Right? I can't go back to chiropractic because of a weak hand and adjusting necks. 300 patients a week. That's what I would see.
That becomes kind of a liability then, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
So
hold that thought, because I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
If you knowingly have an issue with your hand strength and you continue to do chiropractic, are you potentially setting yourself up for some sort of lawsuit if somebody gets hurt? I mean,
I would imagine that's probably the main reason why I stepped down is just because it gets weak pretty quickly. Like for instance, if I'm lifting weights in my basement, right, I'll have to stop, take a break, and stretch my arm. But I'll go upstairs and have a glass of water, and all of a sudden the water will just I'll drop it because it gets weak, right? It's one of those noticeable things. But yeah, from a liability standpoint, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why. And then just neck pain that I continually have.
Well, I want to talk about that, but continue on here. So you get out of this surgery, you sell the practice, and at what point do you say mayor? When does mayor come into your head?
Right. So, June was surgery, and I was off. So August of 2021, I had a individual reach out to me saying, "Hey, would you become mayor? Would you want to run for mayor?" I'm like, "Nope." Second week, "Would you run for mayor?" No.
Yeah.
Not at all. Third week, I was like, all right, I'm going to pray about it. My wife and I prayed about it. Joe, I'm not even kidding you. The next day, I do a devotion in the morning, and the book of Romans came up, and basically in that reading, it's just said, hey, God will appoint someone to go into a position if he so chooses, right? And again, this didn't even connect the dots at that point. It's just that was the devotion for the day. Book of Romans, right? And,
talk about a fortune cookie.
But I didn't even think about the mayor job. Right after that devotion, Wayne Gretzky popped up. There's a post on my Facebook. The very first thing said, "You miss 100% of shots you didn't take." At that point, I'm like, "Oh, all right, let's try it." So I think I was like 36 years old at the time. Wow. 36 years old at the time when I was running for mayor. So I decided to put my name in the hat. I was going against the past mayor, and then the past city engineer, and then another gentleman too that worked at MCC. And I ended up getting, I think, like 54%, 56% of all the votes, which was great. So that was very exciting. And did I know what I was getting into? Absolutely not. I reached out to people and got some hey, how do I do this thing called the mayor? What's the first steps? So I started doing a lot of study and talked to, past administrations from different communities, things like that, to understand how to do this thing. And at the end of the day, again, the first 6 months, sit, listen, learn. And that's what I did. And then probably about 3 months after I started, January 1st of 2022, several people asked me, "Would you be interested in the Chamber of Commerce job?" I'm like, "Sure, but can I?" Number one.
Yeah.
And so we had our some people look at it, and they found out, well, because you don't vote as a mayor, you could. And you just need to know when to recuse yourself from certain conversations, right?
So just to be on the chamber, a member of the Chamber of Commerce.
No, to be the president and CEO of the Chamber of
Commerce.
Oh,
okay.
So that's that's my other job, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So
You're the butcher, baker, and candlestick maker.
There you go. So July 6th of 2022, I was named the president and CEO of the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, while also being the mayor of Muscatine as well. And I'm basically charged with economic development also. So I get to help with some projects, any projects that happen in Muscatine. I get to help work with, try to come up with what incentives, things like that. It's a win-win because typically when you go to a ribbon cutting, who do you typically see on one side? Usually the mayor's on one side and the president and CEO's on the other side. So jokingly, I'm like, I just have to have longer arms or stretch them. But, it's like, it gives another person opportunity to hold that other one. So we have our membership director, Lindsay Trumbull, do that. So I get to hold one side, she holds the other side. And it's just it's a huge win-win as well. And it's actually been, I think, pretty beneficial for sure.
Were you pretty popular in Muscatine during your chiropractic days? Because you have to be a well-known figure. It's not just putting out a commercial saying, "Hi, Muscatine, my name's Brad Bark."
Right.
What do you attribute your popularity to? I can't think of a better word than popularity, but you had to have been pretty well known around town.
Yeah, and I don't. My thing is, I don't look at it as like a popular, but I saw many patients in my 11 years of chiropractic. It was myself, and then remodeled a 5-story building, moved to another building, a 3-story building for a bigger practice. So it's myself and 3 other chiropractors underneath me, and then massage therapist, reflexologist, mental health counselors, things like that. So kind of a one-stop shop, and I would say definitely saw my fair share of patients, which was great. Definitely blessed to have that for sure. So I think that right there, and just getting to know a lot of the corporations, the city, it was very beneficial.
You said something about the building. You bought a building in downtown Muscatine.
I did.
And
2 buildings, yep.
2 buildings, and then basically rehabbed them, right?
Yep.
Renovated them, did the whole thing.
Absolutely. The 5-story building on 2nd and Sycamore, just to the west of Guadalajara. That's right there, and I own that building still today. It's 5 stories, and it's all full. It's great. 10 different renters there, which is great. And then down on 2nd and Pine is where my last chiropractic, the one that I sold that building, but it used to be an old grocery store, the Chaz Mall grocery store. And we went from 1,500 square feet to over 4,500 square feet, which was great just for overall growth. And it was, I miss chiropractic significantly for sure. But at that point, I'm like, all right, well, I wasn't listening to the indicators, because there's a lot of things that happened in 2020, just with my father passing and things like that. But I think those little indicators I wasn't really focusing on at all. I would have to say, I'll admit it, I was addicted to work. I was addicted to work, to making people feel better, but I wasn't focusing on myself, and I wasn't focusing on my family. And luckily, my wife is just the most amazing. She's the rock of the family. There's no doubt about it. She's actually in Texas right now for an engineering job, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
She's great. Candace is amazing. And so all of a sudden, a little piece of furniture, like Candace even had the heavy end walking down the stairs. Like, come on. And I'm like, okay, I get the hint. I stopped. I was forced to stop, basically. So just those little indicators. I'm like, well, there's so many little things after seeing my dad take his last breath, my grandpa 6 weeks after that, my dad's dad take his last breath. And, having some, I had some heart issues as well. It's just one of those weird things that, when you get your heart, from AFib, you get that restarted twice. It really is a weird feeling, by the way.
Your heart restarted twice. What do you mean by that?
So basically, I was out of rhythm because of probably stress, everything going through 2020 with my dad passing, my grandpa passing. And
so were you short of breath? Like, at what point did you go to the doctor and say something's off?
You wake up in the morning and your heart is at 160, 170 beats per minute.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh goodness, here we go. So went in to the ER, and they knock you out, put the pads on, boom, boom, and now I'm back in rhythm. But so that's a weird feeling. I don't wish that on anybody, but very thankful for the Muscatine ER, by the way. So, but you know what? All right, I'm going back to work. Like later that day, going back to work. I wasn't looking at the indicators, and so I feel like I got a smack on the forehead, and hey, you got to stop chiropractic now.
Yeah.
And to the point where, can't use my right hand as frequently compared to my left hand. So
does it cost a bunch of money to run for mayor?
I would say
did you have to do a lot of fundraising?
I did fundraising, and definitely thankful for all the donors and things like that. I'd say the first year, because it's every 2 years, and Doc Stanley, apparently it's every 2 years for him too. But yeah, you have to raise a good enough funds to basically buy signs. So we put out 350 signs in Muscatine, and we probably collected a lot of them back, but so then we continue to put them back out. But I'm going to be running for mayor again coming up this year. So yeah, we just have to. Yeah, so funding, funding is definitely always important. But I'd say the most time that I've actually campaigned was just the first year, and then from there it's just putting things out.
You like what you see, we can keep doing what we're doing. If you don't like what you see, well, shame on me, and I'll go do something different. Right.
So definitely just excited to have the opportunity to serve as the 77th mayor of Muscatine, and there's so many big things happening. And when I was running for mayor, it's very evident that if you're a CEO of a company, janitor, teacher, doctor, social work. It doesn't matter who you are, right? But at the end of the day, you need everybody working together for the common good of the community. If we go back to healthcare, you need the 2 kidneys, you need the brain, the heart. Everybody thinks it's the heart and the brain that keeps you alive, right? Well, take out both kidneys and see how long you live, right? That's the thing. Every part is equally important. It might not be the big flashy thing, but you know what? It takes everybody to make a community work, and that's where I get to come in I love football. My big thing is faith, family, football, and football. You learn pretty quickly that everybody wants to be that quarterback, right? Did you play football, I'm guessing?
I did. I don't know if I would call it playing football. I stood in the middle of the field and tackled the guy with the ball. Sure. Yes.
So everybody wants to be the quarterback. But, it's like, yeah, if you don't have a water boy or water girl giving the team water, the team's going to fail, right? Because they don't have that proper nutrients, right? So everybody is equally important on a team. And I think I've taken that to the city level as well. And then also the chamber. Small business, medium business, large business, everybody's equally important. But small business is 99% of all businesses in the United States of America. It's pretty powerful, right? So,
the many outweigh the few when it comes to businesses.
You bet.
All right, get into the weeds a little bit with me on this one.
Let's do it.
Brad the guy. I do not think we talked about politics near this much when we were kids. It was just, I didn't know that most teachers have this political affiliation and these groups of people all kind of follow the same guidelines, if you will.
Right.
Or belief systems, whatever. But now we do, it's everywhere. Like it's like in your face. And almost in a way, you try to figure out what side they're on without even talking to them. You know what I mean? In this weird way. Well, I'll tell you, I played a little game with my daughter. We went to Costco, and I was like, okay, as we're walking down the halls, you say if you think that person voted for Trump or not.
Right.
And she'd be like, definitely not Trump. It's just a fun little game, sure. Right? Anyway, my point is, if we're all kind of thinking that way, listen how full of myself I am, saying if we're all thinking that way, since I'm thinking that way, therefore everyone is thinking that way. But let's assume we all have a hint.
You see what he did there?
Yeah, let's assume we all have a hint of that in us.
Sure.
Right? Can we ever get back, Brad the guy, to just everybody at the town parade and everybody just not talking about it? Do we go back to that? Do we go back to my kids being able to not know or care what the political beliefs of their friends' parents are, and therefore a trickle-down effect, sometimes, usually, to the kids? How do we just bring it all back in?
I think it starts at the home, number one. That's the goal, right? That's the goal, is to get back to that part that you were talking about. That's always the goal for sure. And I think it starts, and I'm going to speak for my family specifically, but it starts at the home. What my wife and I talk about, do, say, my 3 kids will pick up. I have a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And that 7-year-old, I'll tell you what,
tennis are up.
Ruben's antennas are always up, right? What we say matters. because we are, the mom and dad are the leader of the family, right? And at the end of the day, what they see us, what they hear us say or see what we do, they're impressionable right now. I feel like if we're trying to get for that goal of getting to that point of how it used to be, it starts at the home always. It always will start at the home, and then from there, our kids are extensions of us, right? Then they start talking to their friends, and maybe all of a sudden one of the friends will be like, "Hey, I like so and so," or you don't want it to get political, that type of thing. But
Sure.
at the end of the day, they might just say, "Okay," and not give it any more oxygen. If you give a problem oxygen, that's where things get pretty crazy, right? Maybe it just sheds off. They take the high road, not want to have a conversation about that. So to answer your question, how do we get there? And again, I am not an expert in all this at all. It starts at the home. Everything, you look at everything in life, and I think it all starts about your upbringing. How are your parents, your mom and dad? How is your grandpa and grandma? Things like that. But we have a choice from a generational standpoint to make a difference immediately. That is the power of being a parent, in my opinion, to protect, guide the generations to come. They got deep, didn't it?
Yeah. I like it, though.
Yeah. So, generational. Starts at home.
Yeah, like my grandpa Louis passed away when he was 92, 93.
Oh.
And up until, and like an active grandpa, like not like just sitting in the corner, like an active guy. Anyway, prior to, Trump running for election, which was the whole landscape changed.
Right.
I had no idea what his political affiliation was, or my grandma's, or therefore even my own parents.
Right.
Nobody talked about it. And I'm almost hoping this is a case of too much cake. We're just wolfing down so much political cake right now. I'm hoping we kind of get a stomach ache at some point, and everyone's like, you know what? We're gonna go on a diet for a little bit here.
Well, and look at it. Where are we getting you get the cake from, right? Stores. It comes from stores, or you grab the ingredients and you make a cake. I'm not good at making cake at all. I'm good at eating it, by the way.
Yeah, same.
We are who you hang out with. That, you show me your 5 closest friends, I can basically tell you what your future is going to look like, right?
Yep.
News, consumption of the newspaper, news that you see on TV, things like that. That right there, I feel like if there was just one news station that would follow, just give us facts, I think that would be probably the best case scenario. I don't even know if there's something like that, but just something that is, we just want information, like the hurricane, right? Or FEMA this, FEMA that, things. But that,
yeah,
it's not the way the world is right now.
It's coming from this kind of stuff, though.
Correct.
And that's the fascinating part about a podcast is just a real sharing of ideas. I mean, every podcast is structured a little different. I don't even know what our structure is here other than just shooting the breeze.
And be awesome.
And being totally awesome. But I think what you're saying is, yeah, because there isn't like a neutral, there's not a lot of neutral things out there. It's leaning one way or the other. And there again, that's where I think people are kind of finding podcasts that they enjoy, because there isn't that sting of this far right or this far left. It's all just people doing people stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And that's just my view of that. Now, do I watch specific news programs? Absolutely, right? But at the end of the day, I think, going back to your question, how do we go on a diet?
Just stop eating.
You cut the right.
Just stop eating. Stop
eating,
putting it in your mouth.
Stop eating, or intentionally try to find a better food, or somehow in the middle. I don't even know if there's even such a thing as someone that's like right in the middle from a news standpoint, in my opinion, but maybe there could be.
You could start by just reporting the good news
Yeah.
I think that would be a good, wouldn't that be something where, and I know those things are out there, but on a big scale.
Share the good things happening in Wilton. Share the good things happening in Muscatine.
Or like KWQC. I'm going to call out, am I looking into, is that camera looking at me right now? KWQC TV. I'm going to call you out right now. Off the cuff. I feel like there should be a day, one day a week, not Sunday, because that's a cop-out. One news cycle day, Monday through Friday, where it's nothing but positive news around the Quad Cities. Even if there's something that negative happened, put it on your site, put it on your social media page, do that, but spend a day dedicating it to just positive news around the Quad Cities and not even a whiff of negativity. And I bet their viewership goes way up on that day.
I personally feel like that would be a huge positive as well. We have a Muscatine Journal, and I'll tell you what, I talked to Dave Hodel, and I just said, you know what? Thank you, number one, for being a big part of sharing great things happening in Muscatine. You specifically, Dave, have the power to make or break someone's day. Because people will open up that newspaper, and what's on the top fold of the front paper, right? The front page. You can choose to have something good, or you can choose to have something controversial on there. What you decide will basically, it's like the rudder of a ship. You can really make it look good, or you can really not make it look good. And I can tell you right now, because of Dave Hodel at the Muscatine Journal, he's been putting a lot of positive things on the front page. Of course, there's going to be things that, basically go, that has to, like, a wreck, that'll make a front page. But I'd say definitely there's a lot more majority of good feel good things that are happening on that front page, because there's a lot of great things to share. It could be the Boy Scouts, Eagle Scout, getting an award, things like that. That's powerful, because that's our community, and that's who we represent.
People like light and fluffy every once in a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you betcha.
I'm going to give you a real deep one here.
Let's do it. I better drink some water.
Yeah. Okay. This is another one that just kind of came to mind while I'm talking to you. As a male, I think we are programmed to identify problems and figure out a way to quickly solve the problem.
Yeah.
And also, at least for me, if I know there's a problem out there that needs solved, when I'm ready to solve it, like I want to get it solved right now. And it bothers me until I solve that problem, especially when it comes to like a conflict. Mm-hmm. If I know there's a conflict out, I want to run right at it. I want to get rid of it immediately. I'll drop everything. As a normal guy walking the streets, you only are aware of so many problems that you could possibly fix. When you, as a regular old guy, become a mayor of Muscatine, just like any town, has its fair share of problems. Mm-hmm. And especially like maybe when it comes to housing or social things or kids that aren't in a great type of environment, all this stuff that comes into you, how overwhelming is that sometimes, where almost because you have picked up more power, so to speak, you feel more helpless because you know of so many more problems that you would not have otherwise known about. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So again, I was talking earlier about listening, right? And I'm a guy, like you said, you want to fix things. And the police chief and I had conversations about this a couple of weeks ago. We're fixers, right? That's what we want to do. But I can tell you, my wife, again, she's a saint. I love her so much. She will listen, take inventory, think about it, and then act. I need to be more like that. and I can tell you, I'm a very impatient person. Like, I got to have it done now. Like, we want growth, let's do it now. It's got to be intentional thought. We have to think through it a little bit more. And that's why, it's good to have that, my wife check me, if that makes sense. I have a wonderful chamber staff. I have wonderful city staff. And it's good to have those people that are not, you don't want them to agree with you all the time.
You don't want to be surrounded by yes men.
Exactly.
No.
So that is the beauty of it. And I have a wonderful executive assistant, director of tourism and marketing, and director of membership. And I want some honest feedback, and they give it to me, and I appreciate that. That's how you grow, right? From a city side, I get a lot of people that say, "Hey, we should probably do this or that." Great, let's all get together in a meeting and let's talk about how can we do this intentionally. So I mean, it's definitely got to be a thoughtful process. I want to fix things immediately, Joe. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And it won't happen. Like, you get a call on a Friday. We need an answer now. Well, you could have maybe asked me Monday through Thursday. So I was told by a mentor of mine, if they're reaching out on a Friday afternoon, you don't have to respond till Monday, right?
Right. And furthermore, don't let them steal your bliss that you've earned.
Bingo. Yeah.
And as a problem solver and a pleaser, you can very easily let somebody steal your bliss.
Yeah, 100%. And so what I've been doing, and it's, gosh, I'm coming up to almost finishing my 4th year as mayor, which is crazy to think about, but I've done a lot better with, I'll get an email. I get many emails, text messages, Facebook messages, phone calls a day. That's just on the mayor's side. And then I get the same on the chamber side too. But you sit back, you just try to think about every kind of thought process for this specific problem that you want to fix. What's the best way to reaching out or responding, not reacting, but responding to the situation, right? Sometimes you want to respond, or sometimes you want to react to a situation, but you need to respond. You have to think about it. So I've been doing a lot better at that and getting back to them in a timely manner instead of just responding right away or reacting right away.
Well, to that thought,
Thinking about it.
One thing that I kind of have been crafting is sometimes the best response is no response at all.
That's powerful.
And you have to, like, you got to have a strong grip on that brake lever in many cases.
Yes.
Where you just, and the obvious part of that is a response to make you feel good, to say, well, then let me tell you something. And all that does is make you feel good. It doesn't make the other person feel good. So you still lost even though you think you won. But sometimes when it comes to, like, people coming to you for, what do I do? Or here's a problem. Yeah, sometimes it's a no response. And then when you circle back after a hot minute, hey, whatever happened with, we ended up taking care of that.
Yep.
Otherwise, you would have grinded through an answer and given it to them. And does that come up quite a bit?
It comes up quite a bit, yeah. And again, I probably have, on a given week, with all types of communication, probably, I'd say 30 different items. I mean, not items, but 30 different reach outs.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to people, absolutely. It might not be right away, but eventually I can delegate it to other people. Like, if it's regarding a department, maybe they have a question about a department, I can get back to them, but I'll delegate that. I'll attach the director to that and have them deal with the operations component of it, right? So that's the beauty right there is I'm not the expert at these departments, but they are as the director. And I think that's the power right there. Is like, hey, I understand the question, or it could be a great thing, it could be maybe a concern. Well, we'll have you just go right to the source and talk to them, and I'll tell you what, you'll get it resolved pretty quickly by talking to that person.
With as many messages as you get, does Brad Bark ever get friendship guilt that you put upon yourself because you haven't gotten back to a pal or a buddy about something in a minute, or reached out like you know you could or should.
Right.
Right? Do you ever sense some guilt where it's like, we all got the same 24 hours. I need to make sure I reach out to that guy, or I need to make sure I call that person. And because I bet you are very much of course, you're a relationship builder. So that's professional and personal. So if you feel like something's being neglected over here that means a lot to you, does it almost wake you up at night where you're like, damn, I got to get back to so-and-so?
I mean, I'll typically get those 3 o'clock in the morning wake ups like, oh, what, at the end of the day, friends know that I'll definitely get back to them in a timely manner, just like everybody else. My friends will definitely, they understand that 100%. And I'll say, hey, I don't have an answer yet, but hopefully I'll get back to you pretty quick regarding that. But friends definitely understand. And yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned your wife. I think if you say you love her one more time, that's going to be the perfect Mother's Day gift.
I love you, Candace.
There you go. Now you don't have to buy a gift.
There you go.
But relationship between husband and wife, especially someone who probably is social anyway and has to be social in his professional life.
Yep.
And the sense to get back to people right away. Is there ever this, hey, John and June want to hang out Friday night. What do you think? 7 o'clock. Well, I don't know. I'm doing some stuff here. Well, I'll text them right now and say we're good. Well, hold on. Just wait. We got to figure that out. Is there ever that kind of tug of war there too?
Spot on. First of all, my wife does not want to go with me anywhere, to any supermarkets or any, because usually
you get stopped.
I get stopped, and issues, and it could be past patience. It could be current things. I love it. I absolutely do love it. I'm definitely an extrovert. But on the weekends, like at 5 o'clock on Friday, you go to sporting events for the kids. It's like soccer season. Oh my goodness. Soccer, right? The weekends, I'm kind of just a homebody. I just want to sleep in till maybe 6 o'clock instead of wake up at 5 o'clock every morning. That'd be great. I think I just, I try to recharge myself as much, which by the way is very difficult to do when you're go.
You almost want to charge on the go.
Absolutely. And Candace and I, we talk about this, and of course, we like to hang out with our friends on the weekends as well, but it's not all the time. We have to recharge ourselves too and focus on each other. And that's something that, quite frankly, during chiropractic, I'd work till like sometimes 7 o'clock at night. It was, looking back, it was dumb of me because I cared about the patient and not myself. And, I'd be doing chart notes at home and I'd be there physically, but not mentally. And, like I said, Candace is an absolute rock star. And, she's been great, and she understands that for sure. She definitely understands that. Yeah.
Well, and being a public figure and an extrovert anyway, it's so hard to make yourself stop and respect your partner's view on those things. Because like, well, what do you mean you don't want to go hang out? What do you mean? Absolutely. Like, and it's so hard to put yourself in their shoes when it comes to, especially if you're a hyperactive extrovert, because you always want to go and you always want to be talking to somebody and you always want to be relationship building and all of that. And it's so hard to remind ourselves as husbands, the most important relationships at home. And sometimes just sitting there watching a dumb show is what you need to do.
Right.
But man, that's hard to do.
Absolutely. And the big thing that we do is, our evenings, we'll get the kids to bed, try to get Ruben to bed by 7:30 and the other kids to bed by 8 o'clock, 8:30.
That's a challenge.
It's a challenge, but when we succeed, then it's like, okay, well, let's go downstairs and let's watch a TV show. So we have our TV shows that we watch. We're watching 1883 right now, by the way.
Oh.
Love it.
My wife started without me.
She did. How dare she?
Well, how could she not at this point, right? But I'm usually stuck watching wrestling with the kids and helping them fall asleep. Yeah. That's not everything. But anyway.
Yeah, so it's one of those things you have to, my wife and I have definitely been intentional, we'll watch a movie together or things like that. And it's so important because at the end of the day, I mean, our kids, and trying to focus on the kids more too, reading books to them. And Ruben is just blossoming with reading, and he reads very well now with my 7-year-old, which is pretty cool. It's crazy to think like how many years left I have with my daughter, who's going to be, she's in 6th grade now. Then you calculate that out. How many months, how many minutes, seconds, and you're like, gosh, it doesn't seem like a lot, right? So trying to be intentional as much as possible. I have a lot of ground to make up from my years of chiropractic, 100%. And I totally, I know that I've identified that 100%. So, and even though I have 2 really demanding jobs, I'm still home at a very good time. 5 o'clock, which is great, other than if I have a council meeting or another obligation. But at the end of the day, I mean, we went to a bike blessing on Sunday. I brought my little child, Ruben, and he helped me judge sports cars and motorcycles. So it was just great, intentionally to have him be part of that.
It's neat.
It's really neat. So I'm trying to incorporate my family as much as I can.
Well, that's a good perspective. And most mayors or people in general, right? Especially if you're somewhat serving the public or you have a lot of people coming to you on a daily basis with problems, it's got to be hard to not fall into that funk of, well, they need me. The people need me. And it's so hard to get past that mental block because you also, as a man, you don't want to let people down. Well, as a woman, you don't want to let people down, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. You kind of have that, I'm the good guy here. I'm the good guy in this story. I don't want to let anybody down. My old man is running into that. So my dad is in his mid-60s, still very active. He's a mechanic here in town. He's been down there at that place since he was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And everyone in town knows him. And we even joke about it as a family. We're like, man, what are these people going to do when you finally retire? Like, who's going to work on their car? Like, who's going to do their thing? And then he's got himself, and rightfully so, in this mental space where he doesn't want to let people down, but also he loves what he does. He wants to get up and be active. And so I think that's great too. But there's an element of, I don't want to let these people down because I don't want to have them have to go somewhere else that would be inconvenient.
Welcome to the chiropractic world.
Boom.
So, I mean, there's times the night before Thanksgiving, I would head to the office because there's a gentleman that was heading over to Afghanistan. Of course, I love the people that serve. So I would come in, or I'd have to come in on a Sunday because someone can't walk. Because I love helping people out. Might not have been fair to my family, of course, to do that. But, that was the tough thing. And, of course, I would, I tell you, I'd always choose family first. But if someone's in pain and, the
family's going to be home when you get home. I got to take care of this guy quick. And
they pull up in a van, and all of a sudden they lift a person out of the not the actual trunk, but like in the back where you go, and they put you on. I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, let's. There's some crazy things that happen, or hey, we have this going on, and you take an X-ray and you find out like, hey, buddy, you might want to go get that checked out. I'd make a special appointment for that. It looks very concerning, right?
Yeah.
So there's some things that you find that save people's lives. So everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. And I heard loud and clear. I needed to slow down and was forced to slow down and focus on the family. And it's definitely, that didn't come from my wife, by the way. I'm just saying, like, I think God had some other plans for me. And, I just had to have him take the steering wheel. And I'm loving the ride so far, and who knows what happens next? I don't know. It's not for me to think about right now, but just excited, but I just know that I want to be a good father and a good husband. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm very content with it. It feels good.
I wonder if you, I mean, man, I should read some psychology books, but I almost wonder if, take your chiropractic business, for example, if that's almost like kind of being an addict, because every time you solve a problem with someone, every time you pop their shoulder and they go, oh my God, thank you, I was in so much pain, you're getting a hit of something.
Oh, yeah.
Every time my old man has somebody that car won't start, kabam, car runs. Oh my gosh, thank you. That is a hit of something.
When people have problems, concerns, and you have a solution, that's why you're in business. That's why you're in business. It doesn't matter what business it is. There's a problem, there's an issue, and we want to hire you to come up with a solution. Doesn't matter what it is, but it makes you feel good because you're helping the greater community out. Mm-hmm. And you can put that with anything in life. Mayor, chiropractic, mowing people's lawns.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds
delivering the
relaxing,
newspaper.
Right? Delivering the newspaper, things like that. That's what it's all about, is coming up with solutions. And when you come up with solutions, that's powerful. And it makes you feel good because you just accomplished delivering that newspaper, because that person depends on that newspaper each and every day at a very certain time. Yeah. And
how do you wean yourself off? Because there again, you
can't.
You can't, because like if you're focusing just solely on the family, right, and their needs and their wants, there's only so many problems that present themselves during the course of a week that you can't just knock out real quick. When it's 10 patients a day, it's just like bam, 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 or 10 cars a day, or 50 houses a day that you're delivering newspapers to. It's I would love to look into the psychology of that by doing so many small goods, how that can be so addicting, and you could neglect a more important thing over here, chasing those little hits of doing good.
Right, absolutely.
That's wild to think about, that two goods are fighting each other.
Two goods are fighting each other, and, anything can be abused, that's for sure. And that's, if it's abused, you're addicted, right? Whatever that may be. But at the end of the day, there's certain standards that I have just specifically when it came to chiropractic, or I guess anything in life. You can look at anything. You can choose to be mediocre. You can choose to be good. You can choose to be great. Or you could choose to be excellent. And at the end of the day, there's different standards that you go by. Morals, ethics, whatever that may be. Doing the right thing when nobody's watching is, just one of those items. Making the right choice from a mayor's side for the greater good of the community. For my family, making choices on what I say or do, because these little kids, they're watching you. They're watching you, right? That I can, when my day comes, when I'm with the Lord, they can look back like, you know what? I learned a lot from Dad at that point. But yeah, it's one of those things, is continuing with your upbringing. I'm from a small town of Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and I always tested my dad because he is my high school principal and varsity football coach. So I had no room for error at all, right? And I'll never forget when I thought I was too good because everything was going good in school and I was the star running back my sophomore year all the way, varsity all the way to my senior year. And of course I bucked the system a little bit, and I'll never forget, my dad and I talked, and he's like, you need to remember where you come from. Right now it seems like you're too big for your britches right now. I'm like, I don't know what that means, Dad, right? And he's like, you have to remember where you come from. You come from a family that loves you. We're always going to love you, but you have to choose to be humble, or you can choose to think you're a hot shot.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And I'm like, okay, here. He's like, what I want you to do is take the car, drive around, and listen to John Cougar Mellencamp, Small Town. And I'm like, sure, sounds good. He's like, just listen to the lyrics. And still blows my mind every single day. And I hear that song, it just goes back, Pershing, 2002. I graduated in 2002, but it was spring of 2002. That's when I graduated. I remember him saying that. And it's like, dang, you just remember where you came from.
What a nice memory.
It's a great memory, but you instill that into your kids and think, now my two boys, they're like, hey, can we listen to Small Town by John Cougar Mellencamp? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Or the song Cats in the Cradle. Whew, that's a tough one, right? That right there is a perfect example from a generational standpoint of how, in my opinion, I want my daughter, my two boys, I don't want to get to that point where they don't have time for me in the future, right?
Yeah.
Because they watched me do things like not be home all the time during chiropractic. So now I have time right now when they're impressionable to be home with them, so then they can do that with their kids, be intentional with them. So
one more deep thought.
yeah, please.
One more.
Yep.
You grew up in a household where your father had multiple positions of authority within his community.
Oh yeah.
And now you're raising young kids where their father has the most important job in the community. You won't agree with me there, but you have a very high-ranking spot of authority in your community.
Yeah.
I would bet there were times subconsciously you took advantage of that as a kid. Maybe push the envelope a little bit because my old man is...
Oh yeah.
Right? But since you lived on that end of the coin for your childhood, and now you're on the other end of the coin, does that give you an advantage when raising your kids?
It gives me the advantage because I learned from my mistakes.
Right.
I learned from my mistakes and I identified what my mistakes were. Very simple, right? So, and it's just like anything. You learn from your mistakes. Sometimes it hurts, but you learn from it, right? But keep in mind, it's like iron sharpens iron. You learn from your mistakes. Sometimes it hurts, but you become stronger. With one of your businesses, right? You sell workout equipment. It's a torture device. It's a torture device because what happens on a very cellular level, microscopic level, is you're lifting weights. You are tearing muscle, and the flushness, that's because there's a lot of blood in that area right now. You're tearing muscle, but what does it do? It makes you stronger for the next event and the next event and the next event. And that, you kind of correlate that to any kind of storm, figuratively, a storm that comes your way, that will come your way. Usually it's very difficult to go through a storm by yourself. So you do it with people, and you're going to get through that storm much quicker, right? So it all comes down to a perspective, and that's where I've changed my perspective in the past probably a couple of years going. You go through some storms as well. We all will. But doing it with a close group of people, you got your friends, which is a handful of people. You have your allies. Then you got the other people. But, but at the end of the day, everybody matters. It's just who you talk to, who are your close 5 people that you hang out with. Yeah. And
Brad, this was awesome.
I appreciate this.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah.
This was great conversation, and you didn't really seem too merry, which was great. You more Braddy than Mary.
Marioli.
Marioli, yeah.
Sounds like a noodle or something like that.
This was a great conversation, man. I appreciate it, and that's the part about this that I love is nothing is prepared.
Right.
We kicked this off with just a thought, and if you just let the universe do its work, I feel like we had a good chat. So
I appreciate
anyway, Brad Bark, everybody, and thanks for stopping in, and promise Come back. We'll do some more deep thinking here.
Absolutely. I'll have to have you on our new podcast coming up, hopefully. So
Oh, please do.
it'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, and we will.